The Kennedy family is the closest thing America has to royalty, and their homes reflect this status. Some of these houses have even become historical sites. What made these houses so influential in American history? Join us as we visit all the Kennedy houses. First, the Kennedy compound in Hyannisport. Now, the Kennedy compound is in Hyannisport, Massachusetts, and it looks out over Nantucket Sound like a watchtower. What started as a simple vacation spot for the Kennedy family in the summer of 1928 quickly became the center of their story. With an eye for opportunity and a desire to leave a lasting legacy, Joseph P. Kennedy Sr. turned the first house into a safe place to live. The house also has a classic Cape Cod charm with its white clapboard walls, large porches, and lush grounds. But it wasn't just a house, it was a place where memories were made, and decisions that changed the course of history were even made. The 9 Kennedy brothers spent their summers here, where they learned to sail and played rough-touch football on the well-kept lawns. A 9,000-square-foot work of art. The main house had 12 bedrooms, a sunroom, and even a private movie theater in the basement. But the house wasn't just a play area. It turned into a political hub. This compound was full of strategy talks and speeches during John F. Kennedy's 1960 presidential campaign, making it an important part of American history. Nowadays, the walls of the house seem to be filled with echoes of those important days. The property just got bigger over time. In 1956, John F. Kennedy bought the house next door, and in 1959, Robert Kennedy did the same. Together, they created a 3-house estate that became associated with the Kennedy family. Because of these additions, the compound became a private village where family and politics could mix easily. The property was even used as a summer White House by President John F. Kennedy, where both important people and dreamers stayed. Things have changed at the Kennedy compound, but it's still there. The main house was given to the Edward M. Kennedy Institute for the U.S. Senate in 2012 as a gift, ensuring its history will live on. The Institute wants to use the house for educational events, but the lawns where footballs used to fly and the porches where the family used to talk will still stay very private. Now still, the Kennedy family spirit lives on in every corner of the property, strong and driven. While this compound might have been the headquarters for the family, the next house was where the family came for the holidays. The Winter White House in Palm Beach, Florida. Come with us to sunny Palm Beach, Florida, and see one of the most essential pieces of American history standing tall. This isn't just any house, it's the Winter White House, a fancy Mediterranean-style retreat used for leisure by the Kennedys. This estate, which Joseph P. Kennedy bought for $110,000 in 1933, wasn't just a place to go on vacation. It was a sign of power and influence and a safe place for one of America's most famous families. This property was magnificent, luxurious, and exclusive, with an ocean view, tennis fields, and a swimming pool. However, it has a unique value due to the history written all over the walls of the building. John F. Kennedy spent a lot of time here and visited this place when he didn't think about his presidential ambitions in Washington, D.C. A lot of JFK's book, Profiles in Courage, was written at this house. The book would go on to win himself the Pulitzer Prize. Years later, in the same sunny rooms, people would talk about things shaping his cabinet and his famous inaugural speech. This wasn't only a holiday resort, but also part of the presidential administration in every respect, as it was directly connected with the White House. Also, bear in mind that Jackie Kennedy sought solace here after she gave birth to a son in 1960. It symbolized something personal to the Kennedys. It wasn't just a house, it was a place of hope, happiness, and, in some cases, despair. The estate has changed hands several times since, when it was once full of Kennedy's family gatherings. Billionaire Jane Goldman bought the house after much work was done to bring it back its original charm. With its high walls and guarded gates, the house remains a private haven where curious people can't see inside. Even though the people who own it now live a world away from the Kennedy era, the building's timeless design still shows signs of its rich history. This house has seen many changes, successes, and tragedies. It's a silent witness to history, from important times in the president's life to private ones. The next house, though, was a hub of Kennedy activities. Hickory Hill, Virginia. Hickory Hill wasn't just a house, it had its spirit. The Gregorian-style mansion in McLean, Virginia, became the center of Robert F. Kennedy's life, mixing chaotic family moments with the tense energy of political desire. The red brick outside radiated classic beauty. But what was inside? Well, life happened there, from last-minute football games on the lawn to intense policy debates that continued long into the night. Robert and Ethel Kennedy bought Hickory Hill in 1956, and it quickly became a busy playground for their growing family, which now included 11 kids, many pets, and enough stories to fill a library. The garden serves as both a jungle gym for the kids and a gathering place for political friends. Ethel kept everything together by throwing last-minute lunches for 20 people when Robert asked her to. In a traditional sense, look, it wasn't showy, but that's what made it magical. People tell stories about the Kennedys' touch football games at Hickory Hill. Also, these weren't just any games, they were fierce fights where everyone, including family and friends, had to play hard or go home. Ethel had a reputation for intensifying the competition. During one especially rough match, she even bit someone on the ankle. There was more to the Kennedys' games, though, than just sport. The Kennedys used these games to unwind and blow off some steam. However, Hickory Hill was not only a place of enjoyment. The house was the site of what became known as the Hickory Hill Seminars, where some of its most brilliant people in the world ever met. Imagine a room full of lawyers, reporters, and artists ready to have open and honest conversations over dinner and drinks. As always, Robert Kennedy asked people many questions until he got every little bit of information out of them. Even though it's not as busy as it used to be, Hickory Hill is still an important part of the Kennedys' history. The house changed hands in 2009 after years of being used as a private home and a political salon. It was taken over by a tech entrepreneur who made sure its history would live on while giving it a little more of a modern look. Still, the house has echoes of the laughter, debates, and events that it used to be the site of. Now, this next house won't forget the impact of the Kennedys. The Kennedy White House, Washington, D.C. The Kennedys' distinct blend of charm, intelligence, and vision dominated the White House during the early 60s. It wasn't just where the president gave speeches, though. It became a political powerhouse under John F. Kennedy's leadership, where big decisions, like the launch of the Apollo space program, were made. But Jacqueline Kennedy changed the place, taking it from a fancy but dull home into a museum full of history and style. With the help of antique sellers and historians and her excellent taste, she transformed the White House into a place where every room told a story. It wasn't just a makeover, it was a statement that the White House should mirror the country's proud history. It was love for history that inspired Mrs. Kennedy's ideas, and she did not hesitate to get her hands dirty. She roamed through storage and basements and saw dusty furniture and other relics, such as the desk, with the wood from the British ship HMS Resolute. This desk, which is still in the Oval Office today, symbolizes her drive to make the presidential home feel more like it did in the past. She worked hard even after that. She looked for things that used to belong to presidents like Washington and Lincoln and brought these treasures to the attention that they deserved. The White House wasn't just pretty after she was done, it was an actual link to America's past. In 1962, Mrs. Kennedy made her work public when she brought the whole country to their home for a televised tour. Now, the tour, which more than 50 million people saw, changed how Americans understood their history. With her soft voice and genuine interest, she showed not only the restored rooms, but also how the art, furniture, and buildings of a country tell a story. People didn't just see the president's home, they saw a live museum that had a lot of meaning. Jackie O got an honorary Emmy for that tour, which solidified her role as a guardian of national history. The Kennedys had a significant effect on history and society, and the Kennedy White House is proof of that. Many years have passed, but their impact can still be felt in the halls, the Rose Garden, and even the streets nearby, like Lafayette Square, which Jacqueline fought hard to protect. Her plan wasn't just for the Kennedy family, she wanted the White House to be a place for all Americans. Tragedy did strike later, and the family did have to move to the next house. The Kennedy residence in New York City. The Upper East Side has always been associated with class, but in 1964, a penthouse at 1040 Fifth Avenue took on a more significant role. Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis found refuge in this penthouse, overlooking Central Park, following an unimaginable event. The apartment of the 15th floor became her sanctuary. It was where she could protect her children, make things seem normal again, and start over after President Kennedy was killed. Now, when you walk into that apartment, you could tell it wasn't just about luxury, even though it had much of that. There were 5 bedrooms, and each one had its own bathroom. The floors were laid out in a checkerboard pattern, and the ceilings seemed to go on forever. People reading late at night were said to have happened in the wood-paneled library, and the wood-burning fireplaces offered warmth on cold Manhattan nights. Everything had Jackie's touch on it. She liked art and history and thought it was essential to keep things beautiful. Her classic style and love for elegance could have been seen in every part of the house without it being showy. It was more than just a house, though. It was a symbol. Jackie's apartment was a quiet fortress in the middle of the city, with a view of Central Park. Her children were raised with grace there, and she hosted important people from around the world, such as King Hassan II of Morocco. To her, the apartment wasn't just about escaping the public eye. She wanted to make a place where she could stand graciously tall. Not only did she make New York a better place to live, but she also helped change the city's cultural identity. The apartment underwent many changes after Jackie died in 1994. David Koch, Glenn Dubin, and finally the Lurmans, who did a thorough renovation in 2016, were among the rich and powerful people who bought and sold it. Every owner contributed what he or she could, but nobody could overshadow the essence that Jackie left behind. She showed her strength, her poise, and loving preservation, best evidenced by the house itself. This Kennedy penthouse has an intangible grandeur that cannot be bought for millions. It's the weight of the history, the reverberation of a once-lived sophisticated life, the buzz of hope that even till this very moment. Which of these houses did you like best? Well, please let us know in the comments section below. And thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this tour of the Kennedy houses, kindly remember to subscribe to the channel and drop a thumbs up on the video.